Welcome to the 2017-18 NCAA Men's Basketball Instructional Training Video. I am J.D. Collins, the National Coordinator of Men's Basketball Officiating. It is my honor to serve the game of basketball and work with the officiating community. During this instructional video, we will review key plays from this past season, and we will look at how the new rules and/or interpretations will impact how the game is officiated this season. We will also review plays in response to the Rules Committee's ongoing directive to reduce physicality to create freedom of movement. I am responsible for the script and the plays selected in this video. Please note, no attempt was made to embarrass any institution, coach, student athlete, or official. All clips are used for the purpose of making officiating better. The goal of this instructional video is to develop a national style of officiating that will result in a consistent enforcement of the rules during the preseason, non-conference, conference, and tournament play. It is all the stakeholders' desire to have the same play officiated the same way, no matter what conference or geographic region the game is located. We will continue this effort throughout the season with periodic video bulletins posted on the NCAA men's basketball website. I hope you will make it a habit to view these video bulletins regularly and often. I would like to begin by acknowledging and congratulating all officials and coordinators on a job well done last season. Last year's rule changes and the directive to reduce physicality to create freedom of movement continued the positive effort to enhance our game. Officials and coordinators embraced the new paradigm, changed habits, and carried the cause from the beginning of the season through the NCAA tournament. Thank you for your efforts to improve the game we all love. The Rules Committee met in early May to discuss the rules for the upcoming season. This is a rules change year, and the Rules Committee took action on several items that will be described in this instructional video. The content of this video was shared with D1, D2, and D3 coaches nationally on July 24, 2017. There should be no surprises, and most of the coaches will have adjusted well to this year's rule changes by the beginning of the season. First and foremost, the Rules Committee has directed the National Coordinator to continue the enforcement of the directive to reduce physicality to create freedom of movement. Officials should continue their efforts to reduce physicality by calling fouls on illegal actions involving hand checking, body bumping the ball handler, freedom of movement for cutters, and screening. The Rules Committee specifically asked the officiating community to continue the directive to reduce physicality to create freedom of movement with focus on post play, rebounding, offense-initiated contact. The Rules Committee also asked officials to be diligent in calling the rules as written. Additional focus should be given to traveling, especially on the perimeter and in the post, screens, especially wide screens, hook and hold plays or arm lock plays, and enforcement of the coach's box and unsporting behavior. While progress was made last season, the Rules Committee highlighted the need for specific attention to reducing physicality in the post and during rebounds. If we are going to make progress in reducing physicality in the post, we must always call the first foul. The post-play physicality must be addressed this season.
We will first look at post-play. Officials are instructed to call the first foul in the post. Call an offensive foul if the offensive post player uses a straight arm in an attempt to ward off his opponent and makes contact with him. Call a defensive foul if the defensive player swim strokes or lays on an opponent. And if the two actions mentioned previously happen at the same time, call a double foul. Let's look at some plays. Number 20 Red catches the ball in the post and is aggressively defended by number 22 White. 20 red backs 22 white down from the second lane space to the restricted area arc. 20 red body bumps 22 white 3 times in the process. The center official has a great look at this play. This is an offensive foul on 20 red. This type of physicality must be called a foul. Call the first foul. Number 33 red rolls to the basket and backs number 4 white down the lane using his left straight arm. The lead official is occupied with throw-in responsibilities. Our new mechanic allows the center official to call this foul in his secondary coverage area. When the center official has an unobstructed view of this play, he should take a foul in his secondary area of responsibility. This type of physicality must be called a foul. Call the first foul. Number 32 black rolls to the basket and sets up in the post. He posts up with both arms straight out to his side. Offensive players are allowed to shape up with elbows bent. 32 black uses his left straight arm to ward off number 2 gray. The official incorrectly calls this a defensive foul. When an offensive player uses a straight arm to ward off an opponent, it must be called an offensive foul. Call the first foul. Number 3 white posts up with his elbows bent. Number 4 blue lays on 3 white and then uses his left arm to upward swim stroke and lock the arm of 3 white's right arm. The lead official is in great position and correctly calls a defensive foul on number 4 blue. Number 34 blue cuts across the lane. Number 14 white meets 34 blue, cuts off his path, and displaces him. The lead official correctly calls the first foul on 14 white. Officials must call the first foul in order to reduce physicality.
We will now turn our attention to rebounding plays. Officials are instructed to position themselves so that they can call obvious displacement on rebounds. Get to the proper position and close down on all shot attempts. Officials should look for obvious displacement fouls, slight pushes or chucks that displace opponents, arm locks, and increase our focus on illegal rebounding tactics during free throws. Let's look at some plays.
This play is an obvious rebound displacement foul. While the shot attempt is in the air, number 4 black body chucks number 1 gray. The lead official correctly assesses a foul on 4 black. This year, this play will be considered a loose ball foul, and if the gray team is in the bonus, they will be awarded free throws. Number 13 white tries to rebound a shot attempt. Number 34 red significantly displaces 13 white. This is a foul on 34 red and should have been called. The lead and center both have great looks at this play. We must call fouls on obvious rebounding displacement. During this rebound, number 5 white chucks number 15 red with his right arm. This displacement puts 15 red at a significant disadvantage. The center official is in good position and has a great look at this play and calls a foul. The baseline replay shows the impact of a well-timed chuck in the back. During free throws, officials are instructed to look for players shoving from behind with forearms as well as with their lower body. Officials are instructed to look for this type of illegal activity and call the first foul. The offensive player in the second lane space pushes the player in the first lane space. After the initial look to the opposite lane for violations, the center and lead officials must focus on same-side rebounding. This will increase the chances of getting this play right. Number 25 white pushes and body walks number 21 blue under the basket. This action allows 25 white to eventually secure the rebound and score a basket. We must begin to treat free throw rebounding the same as all other rebounding situations.
During the past few seasons, officials have done a good job of not bailing out an offensive player that initiates contact on the perimeter against a legal defender. In addition, officials have done well when defenders legally wall up at the basket. This season, we will increase our focus on offense-initiated contact on drives to the basket down the free throw lane lines. Offensive players should not be rewarded when they initiate contact with a legal defender. This type of play should result in either a no call or, if egregious enough, an offensive foul. Let's look at some plays.
Number 0, White, drives to the basket, while number 21, Red, legally moves to maintain his position. 0, White initiates contact with 21, Red, and the official correctly no-calls this play. As you can see by the baseline replay, 0, White seeks out 21, Red instead of the basket. It's worth noting that 0, White double clutches the ball as he prepares to initiate contact. During the 2017-18 season, this type of play should result in either a no call or an offensive foul. This is another example of a legal defender being sought out by the offensive player. Number 5, Red, seeks out number 5, White, who has maintained a legal guarding position. 5, Red should not be rewarded for causing this contact. Again on this play, 5, Red double clutches the ball as he seeks out 5, White. In addition, 5, Red has a clear path to the basket and chooses to modify that path to initiate contact. The official correctly no-calls this play. On this play, the defender, number 1, Black, has failed to maintain legal guarding position because he was partially beaten and the offensive player, number 45, White, was entitled to make a move directly to the basket. Unlike the previous plays, this should have been a defensive foul. Number 24, Blue, establishes legal guarding position and moves legally to maintain that position. Number 11, White, initiates contact with 24, Blue and is incorrectly rewarded with a defensive foul. When a defender maintains a legal position, we should not reward the offensive player.
Traveling has become a major focus in our game. The Oversight Committee, Competition Committee, Rules Committee, coaches, coordinators, and administrators all want to see our traveling call accuracy improve. Again, this year we will focus on perimeter and post travels. We must do a better job of finding the pivot foot on the perimeter and in the post. Being mobile and positioning ourselves properly will assist us in having a better look at traveling plays. Let's look at some plays.
Number 2, White, catches the ball on the perimeter with his right foot as his pivot. He picks up his pivot and puts it back on the floor. This is a travel and needs to be called. Number 15, Red, catches the ball on the perimeter with his left foot as his pivot. He picks up his pivot and puts it back on the floor. This is a travel and needs to be called. Number 21, Black, catches the ball on the perimeter with both feet on the floor. Either foot may be his pivot. He then hops with both feet. This is a travel and is correctly called. Number 12, Black, catches the ball with his left foot as his pivot. He then maintains his left foot as his pivot. The official incorrectly rules this a travel. Calling traveling when the play was legal upsets coaches more than anything. Finding the pivot foot will make this play much easier for you to officiate. Number 34, Red, catches the ball in the post and establishes his right foot as his pivot. He then turns and hops on his right foot. This is a travel and goes uncalled. The trail official needs to get to the proper position and close down. Subsequently, 34, Red, drives to the basket and picks up his dribble with his right foot as his pivot. He then picks up his pivot and puts it down again prior to the shot. Fortunately, the lead official correctly calls traveling on the second half of this play. Number 35 White catches the ball in the post with his left foot as his pivot. He then proceeds to hop step twice. This is a travel and needs to be called. Again, this video points out the need for the trail official to get into proper position and close down. If we will close down at center and trail, we will have a much better chance of picking up the pivot in the post.
Officials have done a respectable job of requiring screens to be stationary. The Rules Committee amended the screening rule this year to allow a screener to have the inside of his feet no wider than shoulder width apart. This allows for a slightly wider base when setting a screen. During the 2017-18 season, the officiating community should focus on penalizing excessively wide screens. Let's look at some plays.
Number 34 Black attempts to set a screen on number 1 White. 34 Black is 0 for 3 on this screen. First of all, it is a blind back screen, and he doesn't give 1 White a step to stop or change direction. Second, it's a moving screen. And lastly, it's an illegal wide screen. Officials should continue your efforts to ensure that all facets of the screening rule are upheld. At the beginning of this clip, number 5 Blue sets a legal screen with the inside of his feet approximately shoulder width apart. In addition, he gave number 0 Gold a step to stop or change direction. Subsequently, 0 Blue sets an illegal screen with his feet exceeding the screening limits. In addition, 0 Blue chicken wings 0 Gold with his left arm. This should have been called an illegal screen on 0 Blue. Number 41 White attempts to set a screen on number 5 Blue. 41 White's feet exceeded the screening limit. When contact occurs, this is a foul on 41 White. Officials should not split hairs on the width of the feet. However, when it is obvious that the screen is too wide and contact occurs, call an illegal screen. Number 0 White drives to the left wing and then hands off to number 2 White. In doing so, 0 White attempts to set a screen on number 3 Green. This is an illegal moving screen. This type of dribble handoff is becoming prevalent in our game. By definition, a screener is any player, offensive or defensive, with or without the ball. Well done by this crew for getting this play right.
The Rules Committee is concerned with the increase in the number of hook and hold plays, or otherwise known as arm lock plays, occurring in our game. These plays typically happen with teams that back screen a lot, during the last minute of any game, and during rebounds. This deceptive action does not belong in our game. Officials must see the play start, develop, and finish. Officials should be looking for this illegal action and penalize accordingly. Let's look at some plays.
At first glance, it looks like number 0 Red is being held by number 11 White. As you can see from the replay, 0 Red actually raises his left arm and arm locks 11 White. In addition, 0 Red holds with his right arm and then acts like he's being held. This type of arm lock play must be eliminated from our game. Number 15 White is defending number 2 Gold during a try. As the shot is in the air, 2 Gold locks the arm of 15 White and throws him to the floor. 2 Gold was correctly called for an offensive foul. Because of the leverage 2 Gold used, this play could also be considered a flagrant 1 foul. This type of arm lock play must be eliminated from our game. Number 2 White is defending number 1 Black on a throw-in. 1 Black runs into the arm of 2 White, raises his left arm, and arm locks 2 White. This makes it appear that 2 White has fouled 1 Black. In addition, one black leans back to make it appear that he was being held. This type of arm lock play must be eliminated from our game. During this rebound, number 3 white lifts his right arm and arm locks number 22 red. This illegal action by 3 white limits 22 red's ability to obtain the rebound. This is a foul on 3 white and should have been called. Officials should be looking for this type of hook and hold play during rebounds. This type of arm lock play must be eliminated from our game.
Before we get to the new rules, I want to provide a few reminders from last season. Needless to say, officials should enforce all 6 areas of the directive to reduce physicality: hand checking, body bumping the ball handler, freedom of movement for cutters, legal stationary screens, post physicality, rebounding physicality, and offense-initiated contact. A defensive post player may use a forearm in the back of an offensive post player with or without the ball as long as equal pressure is being applied and there is no displacement by either player. A post player is any offensive or defensive player in the post area with or without the ball with his back to the basket. When an offensive player no longer presents his back to the basket, he no longer is a post player and the defensive forearm must come off. In order for a defensive player to use an arm bar, the offensive player must be in the post area. If the offensive player is outside the post area, no arm bars are allowed.
Number 15 red has the ball outside the post area with his back to the basket. Number 31 green places an arm bar on the back of 15 red, while 15 red is outside the post area. This is a defensive foul on 31 green and should have been called. The offensive player must be in the post area with his back to the basket in order for 31 green to use an arm bar.
Last season, the Rules Committee established that a defender, while in the restricted area, could legally wall up by establishing a legal guarding position with both feet on the floor facing his opponent, jumping straight up in the air with his hands vertically raised within his vertical plane and attempting to block the shot. This play has added an exciting defensive play to the game. It is important to note that the defender must jump from position A and return to position A to adhere to the verticality rules and to be legal. This does not include movement caused by incidental contact.
During last season's NCAA championship game, number 4 black drives to the basket and is defended by number 4 white. 4 white legally walls up in the restricted area. This is a good no call by the official. Please note that number 4 white jumps from position A and lands in position A. Number 4 black drives to the basket and is defended by number 32 white. 32 white legally walls up in the restricted area. This is a good no call by the official. Please note that 32 white jumps from position A and lands in position B. This defensive action is still legal due to the fact that had there not been incidental contact by 4 black, 32 white would have landed in position A. Number 1 white drives to the basket and number 30 red defends the play. 30 red, a secondary defender just outside the restricted area, never initially establishes legal guarding position by having both feet on the floor facing his opponent. In addition, he jumps from position A to position B in an attempt to make himself legal. This should have been called a defensive foul on 30 red. Officials are instructed to see if the defender establishes legal guarding position and whether the defender jumps from position A to position A in defending the play. When defenders jump from position A to position B, they should be called for a defensive foul unless there was incidental contact initiated by the offense, which causes the defense to land elsewhere.
While we officiated the legally walled up defender in the restricted area well last season, we still have room for improvement on grounded secondary defenders in the restricted area. If a secondary defender remains grounded in the restricted area and there is sufficient contact for a foul, it must be a defensive foul. Let's all work to improve in this area. Let's look at a few plays.
Number 3 black drives the baseline and beats his primary defender. Number 1 white, a secondary defender in the restricted area, remains grounded in an illegal position. On the initial shot attempt, there was sufficient contact for a foul, and number 1 white was in an illegal position. This should have been called a defensive foul on 1 white for remaining grounded in the restricted area. Number 2 white drives down the lane toward the basket. Number 23 gold, a secondary defender, remains grounded in the restricted area. The official correctly calls a defensive foul on 23 gold for being a secondary defender grounded in the restricted area and counts the basket. Since 23 gold did nothing else wrong, it is recommended that the official point to the restricted area, indicating that the call was made because of being illegal in the restricted area. Number 55 blue drives baseline, goes airborne, and passes the ball to number 11 blue. Number 1 white, a secondary defender in the restricted area with his right heel on the restricted area line, attempts to take the charge. The center official correctly calls a restricted area blocking foul on 1 white and points to the restricted area. The restricted area applies to a player who is in control of the ball or who has released the ball for a pass or a try for goal. Well done by the center official.
When a player goes to the floor to obtain a loose ball, his opponent is not allowed to jump on top of the player on the floor. This type of action is a foul and should be called.
Number 50 black goes to the floor to obtain a loose ball. Number 2 red jumps on number 50 black and reaches for the ball. The lead official correctly calls 2 red for a foul. When officials see a player jump on top of an opponent, they should penalize this illegal physical act.
Officials did a great job last year of getting teams out of the huddles, replacing disqualified players, and dealing with injured players. Continue that great work and stay consistent with your messaging to coaches. The Rules Committee has extended the coach's box from 28 feet to 38 feet. This should allow a coach to coach his team at the other end of the floor without leaving the coach's box. The Rules Committee was emphatic that with this added space, coaches should not be out of the coach's box without penalty. Officials should strictly enforce the coach's box rule. When a coach is clearly and completely outside the coach's box, officials should first issue a warning and subsequently issue a Class B technical foul. If all officials will consistently enforce the coaching box rule, the coaches will adjust and comply with the rule. Additionally, the Rules Committee asks that officials continue to penalize unsporting behavior. The Rules Committee has established a type of foul known as a loose ball foul. This includes team control fouls which occur during a loose ball, such as a fumble, a deflection, or after the release of a ball for a try. This does not include team control fouls when the ball is passed between teammates and there is no deflection.
Number 5 white drives toward the free throw line. Number 25 red defends the play and deflects the ball away. Subsequently, 5 white fouls 25 red. In previous seasons, this was a team control foul and no free throws would be awarded. During the 2017-18 season, this is still a team control foul, but it will be considered a loose ball foul. And if the red team is in the bonus, they will be awarded free throws. Number 3 white is dribbling the ball and number 1 blue deflects the ball away. Before one blue can gain control of the ball, 3 white fouls 1 blue. During previous seasons, this was a team control foul on 3 white, and no free throws would be awarded. During the 2017-18 season, this will still be a team control foul on 3 white, but will be considered a loose ball foul, and if the team in blue is in the bonus, free throws will be awarded.
The Rules Committee has amended the backcourt rule to allow either team to obtain the ball in the backcourt after the ball has been deflected by the defense. It no longer matters who was last to touch the ball on a deflection.
Last season, the official was correct in calling a backcourt violation on number 2 red. He was the last to touch the ball in the front court and the first to touch it in the backcourt. In 2017-18, this play will be officiated differently. 2 red throws a pass that is deflected by number 4 white. 11 white attempts to touch the ball, but number 2 red gets a hand on it prior to it going into the backcourt. 2 red did not clearly control the ball after the deflection in the front court. This year, either team may go into the backcourt to obtain the ball after a deflection.
The Rules Committee has established 2 throw-in spots in the front court for all fouls and violations by the defense when the offense retains possession. All throw-ins in the front court will use the line of demarcation shown in this diagram. If the foul or violation occurs inside the line of demarcation, the throw-in will occur at a spot 3 feet outside the nearest lane line. If the foul or violation occurs outside the line of demarcation, the throw-in will be at the nearest 28-foot hash. This includes following all charged timeouts to the offense. Note, on out-of-bounds plays caused by the defense in the front court, the ball will be inbounded at the actual spot where the ball went out of bounds. Fouls, violations, and out-of-bounds plays in the backcourt will use the line of demarcation, but will take the ball out of bounds at a spot nearest to where the foul or violation occurred.
Number 15 blue fouls number 5 white. Since the foul happened outside the line of demarcation, the ball will be taken out of bounds by white at the nearest 28-foot mark. Number 4 red fouls number 3 white. Since the foul happened outside the line of demarcation, the ball will be taken out of bounds by white at the nearest 28-foot mark. Number 32 white fouls number 3 black. Since the foul happened outside the line of demarcation, the ball will be taken out of bounds by black at the nearest 28-foot mark. Number 1 white fouls number 44 blue. Since the foul happened inside the line of demarcation, the ball will be taken out of bounds by blue 3 feet outside the nearest lane line. Number 22 blue fouls number 1 gold. Since the foul happened inside the line of demarcation, the ball will be taken out of bounds by gold 3 feet outside the nearest lane line. After number 3 green deflects the ball out of bounds, the ball will be thrown in on the actual spot where the ball went out of bounds. This new rule does not affect out-of-bounds plays caused by the defense. After number 2 green lands out of bounds, the ball will be thrown in on the actual spot where he landed out of bounds. On this play, the ball will be inbounded in the corner on the baseline.
The Rules Committee has amended the shot clock rule. When a foul or a violation is committed by the defense and the ball is to be inbounded in the front court, the shot clock will be reset to 20 seconds or the time remaining on the shot clock, whichever is greater. This includes a kicked ball, which previously required a 15-second reset.
This foul in the front court occurs with 13 seconds remaining on the shot clock. The shot clock will no longer be reset to 30 seconds. The new rule causes the shot clock to be reset to 20 seconds. This foul in the front court occurs with 22 seconds remaining on the shot clock. After the foul, the shot clock will remain at 22 seconds. The kicked ball in the front court occurs with 12 seconds on the shot clock. After the kicking violation, the shot clock will be reset to 20 seconds.
The Rules Committee has amended the instant replay rule to allow officials to go to the monitor to determine if a foul occurred prior to a shot clock violation.
This play is very difficult. The lead official has a foul on the play while the center and trail officials are signaling a shot clock violation. Last season, officials could not go to the monitor to determine which happened first. This year, officials will be allowed to go to the monitor to determine if the foul happened before a shot clock violation.
The Rules Committee also amended the instant replay rule to allow officials to go to the monitor to review restricted area fouls in the last 2 minutes. The new rule grants officials the ability to utilize instant replay in the last 2 minutes of the second half or the last 2 minutes of any overtime period to review block charge foul calls in or around the restricted area only when the decision was based on whether the defensive player was in or outside the restricted area. It is imperative that officials only signal to the restricted area line when the foul was called because the secondary defender was illegal in the restricted area. Over the last few years, coaches and officials have done an outstanding job of adjusting to the vertical cylinder rule and normal basketball moves by the offense.
Last season, the Rules Committee established an interpretation regarding the vertical cylinder and normal basketball moves. Let's review last year's rule. Rule 4, Section 39, Verticality, Article 1. Verticality applies to a legal position and also to both the offensive and defensive players. Some of the basic components of the principle of verticality are: H. The offensive player, whether on the playing court or airborne, shall not clear out or cause contact that is not incidental. I. The defender may not belly up or use the lower part of his body or arms to cause contact outside his vertical plane. K. The offensive player must be allowed enough space to make a normal basketball play. The defense may not invade the vertical space of the offense and make illegal contact when the offensive player is attempting a normal basketball play. A normal basketball play by the offense is defined as attempting to shoot, pass, or start a dribble. An offensive player holding the ball may make a normal basketball play by moving the ball low or below his waist from one side to the other, or by moving the ball high or above his shoulders from one side to the other. When an offensive player holding the ball at chest level or between his waist and his shoulders moves the ball from one side to the other, he is at risk of being called for an offensive player control foul when contact occurs. It is important to note that officials should be looking at the forearms of the offensive player. When an offensive player holding the ball moves the ball from one side to the other and his forearms are more vertical, up to the ceiling or down to the floor, than horizontal or parallel with the floor, this will be considered part of a normal basketball play. When the offensive player's arms are more horizontal or parallel with the floor than vertical, he will be considered to be clearing space and is at risk of an offensive foul. It's also important to note that if an offensive player is making a normal basketball play, any contact that is sufficient to be a foul must be a foul on the defense for invading the vertical cylinder of the offensive player. Please note, if the offensive player makes contact that is excessive or unnecessary, he still will be at risk of causing a flagrant 1 or flagrant 2 foul. The creation of the vertical cylinder for the offense was intended to allow the offensive player to have freedom of movement during a normal basketball play. This means that the defender cannot invade the vertical cylinder of the offense and make contact by crowding him while he attempts to make a legal move.
This year, 2017-18, the Rules Committee has amended the definition of a normal basketball move to not only allow an offensive player to begin to shoot, pass, or start a dribble, but to include allowing the offensive player enough room to pivot. This means that the defender will no longer be allowed to straddle a player's leg to prevent him from pivoting. Let's look at some plays.
This is a classic example of a defender straddling the leg of the offensive player. Number 12 Black defends number 23 White following a rebound. 23 White is pivoting on his left foot. 12 Black closes the gap, straddles the leg of 23 White, and causes the contact. When contact happens, the official correctly calls this a defensive foul for violating the cylinder and causing contact. This play will remain a defensive foul in 2017-18. Number 20 Blue dribbles the ball into the front court. Number 5 White defends the play. 5 White is in a legal guarding position until he steps forward, closes the gap, straddles the leg of 20 Blue, and causes the contact. At this point, he is limiting 20 Blue's ability to pivot. When the displacing contact occurs, this should be called a defensive foul on 5 White. Number 44 Green catches the ball in the post and is double teamed by number 21 White and number 3 White. 3 White commits a defensive cylinder foul by closing the gap, straddling the leg of 44 Green, and causing contact. This should have been a defensive foul last season and will be called a defensive foul on 3 White this season. Number 2 White dribbles into the front court and picks up his dribble. Number 20 Blue and number 2 Blue double team 2 White. As 2 White attempts to pivot, 2 Blue closes the gap, straddles the leg of 2 White, and causes the contact. This was called an offensive foul last season. In 2017-18, this will be called a defensive foul for violating the vertical cylinder of 2 White and not allowing 2 White to make a normal basketball move. Number 32 White has the ball in the post and is attempting to pivot to the basket. Number 5 Red legally defends the play. He does not step into 32 White or straddle his leg. Subsequently, 32 White moves forward with a horizontal forearm and makes contact with the chin of 5 Red. This is a player control foul on 32 White.
Bench decorum continues to be a concern nationally. It is important that officials consistently apply the bench decorum rules each and every night. We also have to remember that coaches are allowed to spontaneously react to plays. Please review Appendix 3, Officiating Guidelines, Section 1, Bench Decorum. Officials are instructed to be approachable and communicate effectively. When coaches go too far, issue a technical foul. Officials should not make this personal. The net result of bad behavior by a coach is 2 shots for unsporting behavior and 1 shot for coaching box violations. Let's all work to make the optics of bench decorum a minor piece of our game. This instructional training video is intended to be the beginning of the learning process for the 2017-18 season. If viewed in conjunction with the periodic bulletins and rules interpretations that are made throughout the season and posted on the NCAA men's basketball website, we will increase the possibility of officials calling the same play the same way during each segment of the season. A consistent approach by officials nationwide will only enhance the value of each and every official. Let's work together to have the right official make the right call at the right time. Good luck this season. If you have questions or comments on this instructional training video, please contact me via the email address on the screen.